Good afternoon. We're on Proteus here on the Euro USD, looking for a long session here. We're going to go for an hour, and currently we're on a high trade with a high probability of success shown by Proteus. So we will execute this at 55 or just after 55 seconds into the next 5-minute interval. The premises here are all the additional confluence metrics 3 to 5, 3 out of 5 are lined up supporting the high trade. Proteus on the right hand side, being a leading indicator, supports the trade by saying the next move is likely to be high or to the long side with a high probability of success. So at 55 seconds we will engage in this trade for $25, and once it is in we will come back to you just before or at expiry to show you how the trade panned out and keep going. Okay, we're back. Roughly 15 seconds remaining to this trade's expiry. It is in the money. Shortly after execution, went straight into the money, and with the exception of 2 blips under entry, it has stayed in the money and is due to expire in roughly 5 seconds here. The trade had a high probability of success with a high projection for both Proteus as well as the additional confluence metrics. The trade has now expired for a $42.5 gross return, which translates to a $17.5 or 70% payout on this trade. Once the calculation of expiry is complete, we will move on to the next 5-minute interval just before 13:50 for the next trade according to the Proteus strategy. Okay, it is 13:49:26. We're looking at this old trade here that expired earlier on for a $42.5 gross return. Proteus right now is suggesting yet another high trade with a high probability of success, and the additional confluence metrics on the left hand side are 3 out of 5, pointing in the same direction. We aren't using the additional confluence metrics as a final judgment on the trade, using just Proteus, but it's nice to see that the additional confluence metrics are also supporting Proteus in its decision. So at roughly 55 seconds we will engage in this trade to the long side with a high probability outcome suggested by Proteus, and once we're into the trade, as usual, we will come back to you just before expiry. Alright, we're back. Roughly 11 to 10 seconds remaining on this trade. The trade has gone ahead into the money and is now on the money at this point, not looking to go anywhere. If in the next few seconds it does not expire outside or inside the money, the trade will be returned to the account, which it has. It has expired on the money, so the money invested into the trade will be returned. However, we will go into a recovery trade regardless, because it may well be that price has gone outside of the money, so we are well positioned to recover the trade should it expire outside of the money. The trade has expired on the money. We have the funds returned to the account but have executed a recovery trade regardless. Alright, roughly 13 seconds remaining on this recovery trade. The recovery trade principle with Proteus is simply, if your equity supports it and your risk management supports the decision, you double your initial investment amount only if it is within your risk parameters, which it is in our case. We doubled it from 25 to 50, and that trade was a potential recovery trade had the previous trade expired outside of the money. However, the trade expired on the money and this one has expired in the money, so it's just a good outcome that we have additional profit as opposed to whether we had executed a $25 one instead. So this trade has now expired in the money, and we'll come back to you in the next legitimate interval. Alright, we're back. It is 14:04:46. We've skipped the 1400 mark, since with Proteus strategies you are to avoid opening or closing bars within the 60 and 30 minute time frame. So we avoid 0, 30 and 60. It's now 14:04. The next legitimate interval is at 14:05. However, price here is suggesting, Proteus here suggesting low probability with the next move, so we are going to avoid this next trade as we're only shooting for medium and high. Alright, the next legitimate interval, 14:09:32, is here. The next one is 14:10. We're going to go over to Proteus and see what it is saying. We are looking at Proteus suggesting a high probability move to the long side here, translating to a high trade on a 5-minute binary option. So we will go over to Euro USD. This is the old trade that expired before 1400. Now going over to high $25 investment here to be executed at 55 or just after. High probability of success pointed to by the Proteus leading indicator, and we're going to engage in this trade now on the mark here, and the moment it's in, which it is now, we'll come back to you before expiry. Alright, back again, roughly 12 seconds remaining on this Euro USD trade. It too is in the money with the exception of a small period of time spent under entry. It has gone into the money again and is due to expire shortly here in just a couple of seconds. This trade was taken with ITM Proteus, suggesting a high probability outcome to the long side. That has now expired in the money yet again, and we're looking at a trade that's gone through to completion quite successfully. Once the trade has expired, we will come back to you just before the next interval is due to start at 14:20, so we'll be back at 14:19. Alright, we're back with the next interval. It is 14:19:43. Let's go over to Proteus shortly to check out what's going on that front. Proteus suggests a high probability long outcome here. Blue arrow pointing upwards, probability of a high move, and 3 out of 5 confluence metrics in agreement. So we're going to execute a high trade here with a $25 investment just before the new interval starts. And again, once it has reached expiry, we will come back to you just before it and show you the results. Alright, back again. It is 14:24:46, just under 12 seconds remaining to completion here. The trade has comfortably remained in the money throughout. The suggestion by Proteus at the time was a long trade with a high probability of success, and at the time additional confluence metrics too were agreeing with the trade. The trade has now expired in the money here. The platform will be calculating expiry and releasing funds shortly. Once it does, we will again move on to the next legitimate interval. Why I say legitimate interval is because according to Proteus strategies, the 0, 30 and 60-minute marks are to be avoided when taking new trades, as they are new longer term time frame opening bars on the 30 and 60-minute time frames. So once we have completed this interval, skip up until 14:34. We will come back to you just before then to see if Proteus has a new opportunity available to us. Alright, back again. It is 14:34:37. We have skipped the 30-minute mark and gone on to the next interval according to the Proteus strategy. Proteus is now suggesting a medium probability outcome towards the short side here, which is good enough for us. We are following a moderate to conservative approach using medium and high probability trade opportunities only. So we're going to go ahead and click low, execute a trade for $25 here, and once this trade is in, we will come back to you just before expiry of the trade to show you how it panned out. Alright, we're just waiting for expiry here. This trade has failed. We still have time to execute a recovery trade. We're looking at a retracement here that resulted in a failed trade. The move is still very strong with now a high probability pointed to by Proteus to the short side. So we will double our $25 to 50 and execute a recovery here to potentially recover the loss incurred on the previous trade. This is an advanced strategy and should only be followed if your equity supports it. Alright, back again. We have this trade teetering over the edge, just on the money here. It looks like we will be expiring either outside of the money or on the money here. The trade has price has just hit the entry point. So not entirely sure if we've lost this trade or won this trade, if it dipped into the money or it's on the money. So we're just going to wait. The rule is to recover only once. You execute no more than one recovery trade, and if that trade fails, so be it. You do not go into one of those martingale grid type fashions. This is strictly one-off only to recover one failed trade. Price has gone into the money, fortunately, by just a blip, and we've actually profited on this trade. So we now have a $35 profit on this trade that may well have expired outside of the money, but that's a good omen. So we'll wait for the next trade interval. Alright, we're back. It is 14:49:39. Looking at the next interval at 14:50 to target. Let's see what Proteus has to offer. A high probability outcome associated with a long trade here. However, if you notice in this case, all the additional confluence metrics are negative. So what we will do is we will go with Proteus' suggestion. The additional confluence metrics are only as a reference should you choose to follow them for added confirmation. We're now executing this trade for a high move here. It is 14:50 and the trade has gone into execution. Alright, we're back. It is currently 54:50. We are just ending off this trade now, and the last trade of this session, since we're hitting the 60-minute mark and it's been just over an hour us trading here. This trade has expired again in the money. We've now been trading for over an hour with consecutive trades here, 8 consecutive trades with 1 loss and 7 positive outcomes, one of which was a returned money scenario. So what we're looking at is 7 out of 8 wins in the span of just over an hour here, one loss, translating to an 87.5% win rate here in this session on the Euro USD 5-minute time frame, using Proteus as a leading indicator and the additional confluence metrics on the left hand side serving as only reference tools, not using them for added confirmation all the time. So this is an advanced strategy where we also followed a recovery approach. We only recovered once. Regardless of the recovery's outcome, the strategy is all about placing a recovery trade only once, and if that trade fails, you do not recover again. You go back to your original amounts. Proteus here is a leading indicator available to you on the right hand side, and the additional confluence metrics on the left serve as reference tools should you like to use them. However, the left hand tools are lagging indicators. They are standard MetaTrader 4 indicators that are presented to you in a more easy to visualize, easy to read format, as opposed to loads and loads of curves and lines on your chart to clutter it up. The real crux of this suite is the right hand side tool set, which is Proteus, a leading indicator telling you what is likely to happen going forward and what the probability associated with that potential move is. Thank you very much.